Hello everyone, Pallytime here. Welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be discussing our experiences with the character known only by one name. I'm trying to slow this down as much as possible to build anticipation, but you've already looked at a thumbnail and read the title of the video. We're going to be talking about Hanzo today. I'm once again joined by Andrew Franklin Wall.
Otherwise known as AWOL, president of the Nexus, the best on the internet and the most modest. Thanks for having me on your channel, man. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. So, Hanzo's abilities. He is walking around with an arrow, a bow and arrow. He's old school over here, even though I think it might, have some future tech on it a little bit. The weapon itself has a travel time on the projectile, pretty significant one, and a drop on the projectile as well. One of the few characters in the game that actually has that, from what I was able to see myself while we were playing.
He's the only character with actual projectile drop, but he's not the only character with decreased damage at long range.
True. He has the sonic arrow, which is basically radar that he can attach to the end of an arrow, shoot it into a wall, or really anything, and it will then begin to pulse with this circle that will reveal enemies in the area. He has a scatter arrow, which I really enjoyed after I got used to it. You just take an arrow, one that's very fragile, you shoot it out. When it hits something, it will then break off into more pieces and kind of bounce around, ricochet off of everything. And then his ultimate ability, one of the coolest in the entire game, in my humble opinion.
Oh, for sure.
We have the Dragon Strike, which he shoots a fucking dragon at you. I mean, come on.
Come on, man. Dragon Strike, it's essentially like two Indominus Rexes coming at you. Like the sound that it makes is it sounds like freaking T-Rex from Jurassic Park. I swear to God.
Does.
I asked the developers point blank a bunch of times. I'm like, it sounds like T-Rex. They're like, we know. I'm like, no, but it sounds like T-Rex. Don't you understand that you made it sound like T-Rex? They're like, yeah, we know. It sounds like T-Rex. We know.
We did that. Okay, so your thoughts on Hanzo. Go.
My thoughts on Hanzo is I got killed by Hanzo a lot. And that's because you kept playing Hanzo. You had two play of the games here. So for you guys that didn't catch the videos on Squadron about this, we played the game for like 3 hours at Blizzard HQ with the developers. Pally was on the other team. I was on the receiving end of most of his Hanzo from downtown arrow shots. And you were surprisingly good with Hanzo in a short amount of time, which I'm saying, not to knock your FPS skills or something, but when you're using a character with a bow and arrow, like learning how to deal with that low rate of fire and with that projectile drop on a character like that seems really difficult. Like, have you ever played an arrow character before? Because that's a whole nother set of skills from knowing how to use a pistol, shotgun, rifle, or sniper rifle from other FPSs.
Well, I don't know if you knew this and all, but I used to be a Halo 3 semi-pro.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
No, there were obviously no bows in that game. I did spend a pretty significant amount of time playing the sniper in Team Fortress 2 back in the day when they were just starting to implement new guns and layouts. He got one that I believe was called the Huntsman, which is a very similar setup. You have a bow and you shoot it at people, and if someone sneaks up on you, you die.
Got it.
It does have different, everything about it. Conceptually, they're the same, right? But it has, both weapons have different travel times. Both weapons have different drops on trajectory and stuff. So I've played with bows before, but there was definitely a huge adjustment moving into Hanzo. Not to mention it was a few years since I've done that. So yeah, I had a little bit of experience, a little bit.
A little bit. Let me ask you this then, because this is something that has come up a bunch. We covered Hanzo on Squadron in our in our offense video.
Oh,
but within the selection menu, when we played at the Gamescom 2015 build of the game, he's in the defense section. Some people were saying on Reddit. So, is this an offense character or a defense character? Regardless of Blizzard's classification, in your opinion, is this an offense character or a defense character?
Defense. I don't remember the name of the map. You're going to be better at that than I am. It was one of the ones we play tested on that had the moving platforms.
Oh, it's the new one, Numbani or something like that. Was that the map?
We'll go with that and just count on you being right.
I mispronounced it. Overwatch community, I'm sorry.
So a scenario I fell into a lot was Hangus was really enjoying playing Widowmaker and Hanzo as well. So oftentimes I would play a different character while Hangus was playing Hanzo or Widowmaker, and then when he switched over to Reinhardt or whatever he was playing at the time, I would switch back to Hanzo. There was one particular game on that map where we were trying to push in to capture the last point, because that's a map that has 2 King of the Hill points.
Right.
There were a few scenarios where I noticed, and this was by the end of the play session, this was one of our last games, where I noticed that we were actively hurting our team because of the way that we were playing. So we were on offense, we were trying to push in, but obviously with Widowmaker and with Hanzo, you kind of want to keep your distance from most people. So we were pushing up really slow, while the 4 other members of our team were just trying to run in and capture that point with 6 defenders there ready to go. He doesn't have the mobility or the escapes, I feel, to be an offensive character. You really want to be poised, waiting for someone to come to you for the most part. I mean, the scatter arrow can do a ton of damage if you use it right. There were a few times where tanks were coming up on me, and then I would take the arrow and shoot it right at their feet. So the idea is the arrow hits the ground and then shatters, and all the projectiles then travel into the tank and you know, into the Winstons or the Zyras and the Reinhardts. That's the only way I could do meaningful damage to those guys. So if I were in a more defensive position, I'd have plenty of time to, you know, get shots off while they're approaching me, get a scatter arrow ready to go, maybe fire off a dragon at him if I'm super afraid. But when those guys snuck up on me, it was like pure panic. I was probably going to die. And for that reason alone, I would say he's not an offensive character.
I totally agree with your analysis. I mean, he was listed, I don't know if he is currently, he was listed as offense on the website. I think that maybe now they're rethinking that and moving him to defense. And there's something, and by the way, I did pronounce it correctly earlier, it is Numbani, but the map that we are talking about is actually the other new map, Volskaya Industries, which has static defenses that you can put on platforms. I mixed those two maps up.
That's the map.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing for me, is Hanzo is like a part of a like Japanese clan, like the Shimada clan, and he's an assassin, but he plays defensively. I mean, what assassins are defense assassins? So that's what's interesting about the character to me. But I think the other thing that with his kit, a move like Scatter Arrow is one of the more defensive abilities in the game. I'm sorry, not Scatter Arrow, Sonic Arrow is one of the more defensive abilities in the game. The fact that you can have that sonar effect that you get with the Infrasight ability on Widowmaker at any given time in a small area, to me is classic defense. You're basically giving your team intel, and then you're able to climb walls and sort of be the scout for the team. So when you really put a side-by-side comparison here with Hanzo versus Widowmaker, Hanzo and Widowmaker are actually far more similar than I originally thought. Hanzo kind of does have that sniper component to him, where you can hit people downtown with those arrows if you know, can properly understand the drop. You have wall climb, so you're going to want to go ahead and get up to those really high locations, just like Widowmaker has grappling hook to do the exact same function. And then both characters also have an ability that allows you to see the enemy team. So they're actually really freaking similar defense characters. So I agree with the idea that Hanzo, moving forward, as long as his kit stays this way, would be classified as defensive.
Yeah, I actually didn't know he was classified as offensive before.
He was.
He was definitely defense on the play session that we had. So they're internally, at least, trying to figure out where to place him. I have to say, his ultimate ability, though, is just so good. I had so many plays of the game with these things, with this dragon. Specifically on the payload map that we were playing. When it's almost at the end, everyone always seems to clump up and get in front of that payload, and I was just like, whatever. And I would fire my dragon through the payload and just start chipping away at everyone. So how it works, as far as I understand, you can let me know. Obviously, he has to build up a charge to use this ability, like any of the ultimate abilities.
That's wrong.
But, oh, damn it!
No,
but
I'm
then
just
he fires the arrow The dragon comes out. If you're in the center of that projectile, you take increased damage. If you're on the outskirts, you take a little bit. It's still significant, but it's nowhere near as much. And that being said, it's a very slow-moving projectile. So in most cases, you probably can get out of the way if depending on the range and if you react fast enough.
Right.
Is all of that accurate?
All of that is accurate. The one thing that Jeff Kaplan was telling me is, maybe do mention this, but the longer you stay within the ultimate, the higher the damage is that you end up getting hit with once the ultimate completes its animation within your area. So even Reinhardt with his shield up, if you just stand there and take the full dragon basically passing through you, then you will die. Like, the ability is designed where if any character in the game takes the full duration of the dragon traveling through your area, every character in the game will die. So this move can potentially be a counter to everything. And it's gigantic, and it moves through walls, and it sounds like a T-Rex.
And it sounds like a T-Rex.
So it's kind of like the most awesome move in the game, basically. Do we agree on that?
Oh, yeah. It's the most awesome move in the game.
Okay.
One of the people, I think it was on your side of the table when we were playing, I didn't know who it was because I wasn't going to look. They were saying something along the lines of a strategy for Zyra is to put up your shield and then just step to the side and just let that chip away. Like, be as close to it as you can to take the smallest amount of damage and just let that overcharge your damage while that's going by. That seemed to be a common strategy that they were trying to implement a lot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that there's going to be a lot of nuances out there of how to deal with Dragon Strike. And what I'm concerned about with Dragon Strike, I think for casual players, for casual players and maybe moderate players, this is going to be an effective ultimate if you use it in a range of situations, especially to clear out an area. It has the most audible sound clip in the game, and it's also the most visually stimulating and obvious ultimate for you to dodge. However, what I'm concerned about is when you're moving up to really high-level play with, people like yourself, Pally, who used to be pro in Halo 3.
No.
How are you going to connect with Dragon Strike at highest levels of esports? That dragon moves really, really slow. So are you going to, be just on the other side of the wall and, set up a trap and then unleash the dragon in their face? I don't know how much utility it's going to have at high-level play.
I mean, there is that. I want to say, for the record, that the developer said I was the best Hanzo they've ever had at one of these playtests. I'm just putting that out there. Just put it out there. Gonna let it sit. Gonna let it marinate. But there were a few instances on that same map with the moving platforms where I would sneak around the side because the King of the Hill point has walls on almost every side of it with small little openings. And I would throw down the sonic arrow so I could see what's on the other side of the wall, and then from basically a point-blank range, but with the wall in front of me to protect me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would fire that dragon off, and it would connect and deal a lot of damage. Now,
that makes sense.
The question is, am I going to be able to get to that point? Am I going to be able to get deep into enemy territory on Hanzo in a high-level match? Who knows? So I think maybe it'll come down to, once again, the Zyra's laying down her gravity bomb, sucking everything in, and then we combo with the dragon shot. The wombo combo scenarios are always strong in games like this, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, Zarya's ultimate, that's the example everybody always brings up with ultimate synergy, and I can definitely agree on that. I'm trying to think of any other ultimates in the game that it would have synergy with. And the only other one, really obvious synergy with, and the only one I can think of would be Reinhardt's ultimate, which in a frontal cone knocks down everybody in the area, and it's basically the same thing. I mean, if people are knocked down within that cone, they're close enough to get hit by double T-Rex. And so that's the only other one that's super obvious. The third one is less synergistic in terms of being top 5 plays and killing the entire enemy team, but just flat out infra sight by Widowmaker. If your sonic arrow only sees a couple of them, but infra sight gives you an opportunity out of the corner of your eye to penta the enemy team, that could have synergies too.
Speaking of Reinhardt, Hengist and I did pull that off a few times where he would knock them down and I would get a dragon off that killed 1 or 2 people. It doesn't seem like it's as good as Zyra's, though, because Zyra's actively is pulling people into it, whereas Reinhardt's just knocks them down, and they're kind of scattered, you know, wherever they were knocked down at, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to be in, like, perfect positioning as a Hanzo to be able to connect with, like, a full dragon duration during that time. Yeah, and I think the period of time that characters are knocked down is maybe 2.5 seconds, whereas when you're in that Graviton Surge, it's closer to 4 or 4.5 seconds, I believe. It at least feels longer.
Yeah, it felt like a long time. I can attest to that for sure.
And Graviton Surge pulls everybody in, like you're saying, to like basically the same spot on the map, like on top of each other. So yeah, we're gonna see that in lots of top 5 plays for sure.
All right, guys, I think this is where we are going to wrap up today's video, unless you had any more comments that you would like to share with us.
I would. I am the president of Link Spam, and I'm going to bring up the fact that we're doing a community giveaway for Overwatch, where you can bring... All you have to do is like follow people like Pallytime or myself, who are part of the Overwatch community, and you can win a Battle.net gift card, a signed poster by the Overwatch developers, free merc, a PAX pin... I think you'll have a link below to that, and I'm so glad I could spam links on your channel now in one of your videos, so my presidential campaign is now complete.
As long as I remain the Galactic VP of Marketing, I am totally okay with that.
You totally are. Oh, and by the way, the name of the promotion is the Fall 10th Bundle.
Oh, clever.
Because, well, we know what the release date is. It's Fall 10th.
Duh. Everybody knows that.
Everybody.
Alright, guys. Thank you all for watching today's video. I hope you sincerely enjoyed it. These were our thoughts on Hanzo. He's a great character. I played him more than any other at the playtest, and I can truly say I enjoyed every moment of it. We are going to be back very soon with some more characters we're just going to casually talk about, and I hope to see you all next time.
Bye-bye.